to have the coronavirus has risen to 3,165,236. 219,513 have died and over 900,000 recoveries recorded. The United States has registered a grim milestone as the number of coronavirus cases passed 1 million. There are now 1,034,151 cases in the U.S. In the meantime, India saw its highest jump in coronavirus daily deaths. A total of 73 people affected by the virus died in 24 hours, taking the death toll to 1,008. Singapore reported 528 new cases, its smallest daily rise in almost 2 weeks, bringing its total number of cases to 15,641. In other news, the UK government has pledged more than £1.5 billion over the next 5 years as part of international efforts to find a COVID-19 vaccine. Thanks for staying with us. I am Joyce Ometu.
And Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has expressed the importance of providing support to small businesses in the informal sector as priority for economies aiming to lessen the adverse effect of the coronavirus pandemic. The Vice President at a virtual conference entitled How Africa's Informal Sector Reacts to COVID-19, organized by Africa.com, observed that though Nigeria's massive population constitute a challenge in the fight against the coronavirus, the advantage of being able to manage the issues in smaller measure through the state has enabled authorities to reassess responses across subnationals and adjust where necessary. The Vice President said a lot has been done on conditional transfers, especially within the context of the social investment policies, and that government is now looking at how to possibly enlarge the scope of that and do more. Besides the Vice President, others spoke who are at the webinar where President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana and Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State and Ahmed Mushifu Mubarak, Professor of Economics at Yale University, among others. And the Executive Director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Mike Ryan, says Nigerians should be prepared to accept the medical and scientific result of the verbal autopsy result on the strange deaths in Kano State. In a statement, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Gabriel Shehu, says Dr. Ryan has observed that while some people may wish to believe that there are other causes at play in the deaths, such as hypertension, diabetes, meningitis, and acute malaria, there are others who say it is COVID-19. He explained that the obvious thing about the case all over the world is that communities with similar socio-economic dynamics like Kano have found as very helpful the sort of lockdown measures now imposed, expressing the President's concern with the people of Kano State. He explains that there are reasons to believe that the mortality rate in Kano in the face of COVID-19 is alarming, and the best action would be collaboration of both the federal government and the state government to find solution to the health challenge. In the meantime, the Federal Road Safety Corps FRSC has released 5 of its life support ambulances with teams of medical personnel of the Corps to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. This is said to be part of the Corps commitment towards facilitating prompt evacuation of coronavirus victims from point of identification to isolation centers. And Oyemi Ajayi has that.
They are set for the new national assignment. These 19 marshals and 8 officers are some of the FRSC medical personnel who will now be more active in the evacuation of COVID-19 patients from locations to the isolation centers. This becomes essential after the request by the country director, United Nations Decade of Action on Road Safety and Traffic Injury Prevention in Nigeria, and the Coordinator Ambulance and Emergency Response Unit of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sidney Ibianuzi, at the national headquarters of the Commission.
Coverage will be determined by the committee or by the medical team that the ambulance is being donated to, not us. And they will equally be trained. And we equally expect that they will be given adequate protection that they need.
The FRSC health personnel who will work for 2 weeks will first be subjected to intense training on personal protection, handling of victims, and decontamination of the vehicle, among others, after which they will be subjected to 2 weeks isolation by the PTF in designated centers and certified negative before they can be allowed to reunite with their families and report back to duty. Aside the personnel and 5 ambulances released by the Corps, 30 active closed user group lines were also given for easy communication by personnel on the field to help ease timely information dissemination. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
In the meantime, all schools are to remain closed and all interstate movements remain banned, despite the gradual relaxation of the restriction order in Lagos and Ogun State, as well as the FCT from the 4th of May 2020. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, stated this, among other regulations to guide Nigerians going forward. Mutarik Bang tells us more.
Ladies and gentlemen,
for the Presidential Task Force, the coronavirus is still a potent enemy, hence the need for guidelines and clarifications on the relaxation of the lockdown and gradual reopening of the economy. The regulations indicate that the overnight curfew announced by Mr. President is applicable nationwide, just as the prerequisites for the opening of offices include compulsory fumigation and decontamination of premises, use of face masks, provision of hand sanitizers, among other mandatory measures.
Mass gatherings of more than 20 persons outside of workplace is strictly prohibited. State governments, in collaboration with security agencies and relevant trade associations, are strongly advised to ensure that these measures are strictly enforced.
Banks will be allowed to open, but there will be restriction in the opening hours to between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m., together with all the other preventive measures. For government offices, government staff will be allowed to resume from the 4th of May, but it will be based on specific rate levels and specific days.
There were sectoral updates by ministers.
The increasing figure of confirmed cases underscores the ongoing community transmission, which is a major challenge and again necessitates a call on all of us, all citizens, not to take COVID-19 lightly.
As at today, we've been able to deploy 9,320 metric tons of grains to these 3 affected areas.
We're also spending the time in between to speed up the implementation of the digital switchover, because when the digital switchover is actually on course, full course, then it's going to create more jobs, in the creative industry.
We mapped out 125 aircraft and 13 airports. So far we have decontaminated and disinfected 2 aircraft. Why we are not rushing it, like I said, is because of the nature of the industry.
The Presidential Task Force reiterated that the easing of the lockdown does not amount to the end of the pandemic and advises Nigerians to take personal responsibility by observing all precautionary measures in the fight towards ending the coronavirus pandemic. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Thanks, Mutari. Now to Kano. And Kano State has been on total lockdown for about 2 weeks now as part of measures to curtail the spread of COVID-19 and strange ailment ravaging the cosmopolitan city. Fatima Sanusi RI monitored level of compliance in communities, especially with increase in the mortality.
With 115 confirmed cases of novel coronavirus in Kano State, the northern Nigeria economic powerhouse is struggling amidst the pandemic. At a glance, streets and markets are empty as the state enters second week of stay at home. However, experts are decrying possible community transmission of the contagious virus as people in communities are defying the stay at home order.
This is one community in Kano where the stay at home order is supposed to be in effect. But as you can see, everyone is going about his normal business as if there is no lockdown.
And with the increase in the cases of mysterious deaths in the state, with no confirmed possible cause, like in the case of this man who sadly died alone on the roadside with no friends and family.
There is somebody that is 80-year-old that has been on guard somewhere for some years. What I know that is that one is they call him Alhaji. That's the only name they identified from him, but he has been on guard somewhere around the market site, and that was how he fell sick and then died.
He is among the mysterious deaths happening in the ancient city. This is a genuine cause of concern, especially with people in communities roaming streets and visiting friends.
We are recording a large number of deaths happening in our city, and it is disturbing every single health worker. Whatever are the causes of these deaths, we cannot shy away from the possibility that some of them are dying of COVID-19, whether or not they are recorded.
Experts are therefore calling on the over 10 million people that make Kano the cultural and economic hub of the northern Nigeria to abide by the laws set by government and the general guidelines set by health professionals. Do the needful. Stay at home. In Kano, Fatima Sanusi Karai, NTA News.
You ended well, Fatima. Do the needful, stay at home, stay safe. One of the fears expressed by medical experts since the first index case of COVID-19 in Nigeria is that of community transmission. With the development in Kano State and other rural communities in parts of the country, guests on NTA's Tuesday Live stressed the need for a rapid intervention and adequate attention to the environment in order to contain the spread. And Dorindia reports.
Coronavirus, a pestilence which started with an index case in Ogun State, Nigeria, now a national emergency, with the figures rising to over 1,000, containing the spread of this deadly disease, therefore became imperative, with both federal and state governments reaching an agreement on how best to achieve the mission, some of which are the restriction of movement of persons from one location to another, ban on interstate travels and public gathering, as well as stipulated hygiene protocols, an approach which already got commendation from the World Health Organization. But sadly, the fight against coronavirus pandemic may be taking another dimension with the suspicion of community transmission of the deadly virus in some parts of the country. Guests on the program made critical evaluation of the federal government response and its impact on the spread of the disease.
We saw over the news, the NCDC, the high-powered delegation are already in Kano. Even the National Assembly, they have gone there, so they are trying to ascertain the cause of this death, and they are trying to see how they can start containing this death that is always rising. So it's a very welcome development, and the public must welcome such things because it's in their best interest.
And one thing we have noticed is the level of mobilization, societal mobilization. Almost everyone is playing a part in this, and this is what I think we should commend Nigerians for.
The gradual reopening, which a lot of countries are doing, again, is the proactiveness of Mr. President. In the last ECOWAS video conferencing, they recognized that and named him the champion of COVID-19 fight in the Africa sub-region.
Compliance to the stipulated guidelines, environmental factors, and community awareness were also examined by the experts.
About 80% of diseases, infectious diseases and others, are environmentally based. You keep your environment healthy, the number of diseases you will see will be minimal. The number of people that will be going to doctors will be minimal. So this is about environment, and this is what we must understand.
Since the infection has started lingering within the community, I think it is the responsibility of the environmental workforce to really make sure that they have enforced the sanitation and also hygiene protocols as provided in the public health law that is guiding their action in the communities.
In each state in this country, people have volunteers to help government to the extent they allow us to do so.
Unfortunately, the way I see it, Nigerians are either not obeying the physical distancing, or they don't really understand what this physical distancing is.
The guests expressed confidence that the response approach taken by the federal and state governments will make a remarkable impact in winning the war against the pandemic. In Abuja, doing Dia, NTA News.
Now, wearing a face mask is one of the recommendations by experts in flattening the curve of the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria. And in Ondo State, the use of face mask is now compulsory for residents with effect from May 1st. And Olubukola Aduwo in this report takes a look at face mask, the various brands, effectiveness or otherwise, as well as the business angle.
This is not a tailoring enterprise or company. It is not one of those private fashion establishments. It is a child of necessity, and Ondo State government's initiative to race against time. Bosede Oladimeji, 38, has been engaged along with over 100 others by the Ondo State government to provide 500,000 face masks.
With my ability and capacity, I can be able to produce 200. At least in a day, I make 5,000 naira.
By Friday this week, it will be an offense for anybody in Ondo State to be seen in public without his or her face mask. Face mask, according to medical experts, is one of the potent preventive strategies to curtail community spread of the novel coronavirus. The required number of face masks is huge, and this has fired the creative ingenuity of many, especially those with the slightest knowledge of sewing.
This is the period most artisans are not making money as they are in their various houses due to the stay-at-home directive of government. But like the popular saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Bosede Oladimeji and her mates will have to deliver 500,000 units of face masks in the next few days so that the state government can distribute to the 18 local government areas of the state. But the major concern of government is how to impress it on the people to use the mask.
Those working in the hospital, our frontline staff here, they can wear the N97, the 3-ply surgical mask. But if you are just there, you're going to the market, or you're just there, you just came out of your home and you're receiving fresh air, you're covering something, it's better you have it than not having it.
So I think it is better to use at least something rather than don't use anything.
In Akure, Olubukola Aduwo, NTA News.
Now different brands, I tell you, I have a whole lot, Ankara and stuff. So it's always good to use your face mask. Just keep safe. Very, very important. Now, all hands are now fully on deck, and everybody is committed to the fight against COVID-19. And the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, KURU, is not left out. The Elite Management School is to submit its recommendations to the federal government on the way forward. And Director General of NIPS, Professor Galadima, said this during the stimulation exercise carried out by participants of course 42 at the Institute. And Caleb Gochin has the details.
At National Crisis and Strategy Game, the simulation exercise is designed to equip the senior executive course 42 participants with crisis management skills. Director General of NIPS, Professor Habu Galadima, noted with satisfaction the measures being put in place by the federal government to address the pandemic and assured that the National Institute will in no distant time give its input towards the fight.
It enables the participants to forecast a particular scenario and bring out the issues, the challenges, and of course make policy advice.
Participants say the simulation exercise has exposed them to some truths about leadership, which hitherto they have taken for granted.
You don't rest, you hardly have time to even go and eat, and then you're challenged with problems, and you're there trying to think out how to solve the problem.
This game, as far as I'm concerned, has been far-reaching because it asks us to think out of the box and come out with creative solutions.
Coordinator of the exercise, General John Temlong, praised the commitment of the participants and expressed optimism that with collective support of all, Nigeria and indeed the world will overcome the pandemic.
A policy think tank is supposed to be proactive and start looking at what is affecting the country or what is affecting the world or what is going to affect.
The simulation exercise is one of the mandatory and important components of the training at the nation's Apex Institute, NIPS, where participants are distributed into various groups to play different roles in managing crisis. With the efforts being put in by participants of course 42, it is expected that Nigerians will soon heave a sigh of relief as more efforts are being put in place to ensure that Nigeria is rid of COVID-19. In Jos, Caleb Guchin, NTA News.
Thank you, Caleb. Now, imagine a lockdown where everything is at a standstill. Well, that hasn't been the case, thanks to those essential workers, including yours faithfully. Find out how the country's wonderful frontliners are coping with COVID-19 and a peep into the world of the population that is worst hit. One News Extra returns in a moment. Stay with us.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Is on your my camera. Yes, I need you like you need me, and I know it's awesome, my baby. Need
stay-home data plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
Power
outages have become part of our lives, and life can be a nightmare without power. That's why, now more than ever, you need to take control of your life with Omaha Portables.
The power output of every Omaha generator is exactly as stated in its power rating.
As long as there's Omaha, your home will have the reliable power you thoroughly deserve.
Omaha generator gives us peace of mind because it never fails us.
Omaha Portable Generators, inspired by you. Omaha, amazing Bluetooth, gripping 4K, high-def satellite receiver, vibrant colors, make you feel truly immersed in the action. Omaha Television, inspired by you.
Stay connected with your loved ones from wherever you are with the Airtel Home Broadband Device offer. Get up to 160 GB free on Airtel routers with just 19,999 Naira and up to 55 GB free on Airtel MiFis with 9,999 Naira. More data, more you. Reliable home broadband buy.
Airtel, the smartphone network. Improved household hygiene is essential to keep your family safe. Did you know that the sodium hypochlorite, the active ingredient in hypo bleach, is equipped to fight viruses and germs? Add some bleach to water, soak a clean napkin in diluted bleach, and wipe off germs from common contact surfaces. Wipe off with hypo. Disinfect your home with hypo bleach always.
Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Imagine a mosque without prayers. A home without a family. A country without people. People without their country. Imagine a mother without support. A child without love. A grandparent without care. Imagine fasting without iftar, or iftar without gatherings. Imagine compassion without action. Imagine Ramadan without giving. Millions of refugees are still uprooted from their homes, struggling to afford even their basic needs. Now imagine what your donation can do. Every gift counts.
Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels. It sounds fun. From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy. Alright everybody, let's do this! To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds. You can do some amazing things. There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV, live it, love it.
And I've got this very important message for you guys. Stay at home. No. Stay safe. Noruma. This is the right thing to do at this time. And don't forget, remember to wash your hands. Sachasia kage samaya sama, sachasia isia kage ofuma. Together, we'll beat this thing. Are you ready now? Are you ready, man?
Welcome back to News Extra. Calm and adherence to medical and government guidelines against coronavirus remains the remedy at this point in time to curb the spread of the disease. This is the view of stakeholders in Taraba State after the state recorded 8 cases of COVID-19. Joseph Austin reports that all confirmed cases so far are from the 130 travelers intercepted in the state and presently in isolation.
The 130 interstate travelers intercepted at different occasions were coming from Bauchi, Kano, Jigawa, Borno, Ogun, and Lagos states. Because the State Technical Committee on COVID-19 considered the places they were coming from as high-risk areas, The people were quarantined and samples taken for testing.
I wish to assure the good people of Taraba State that this is not a time for panic, as government is on top of the situation. Additional manpower and resources have been mobilized and deployed to trace the contacts of all those that have tested positive to the coronavirus.
This disease, this virus is in our town, is in our state. So we must abide by the rules of hygienic improvement. We must improve our hygiene. We must be very vigilant.
The Taraba State has closed its land borders with neighboring states as well as international boundaries with the Republic of Cameroon. And it is presently on total lockdown as part of measures to stop spread of COVID-19. The present status of the state demands strict adherence to preventive measures approved by the World Health Organization. In Jalingo, Joseph Sound Oten, NTA News.
And in another story, the First Lady Aisha Muhammadu Buhari has enjoined Nigerians to cooperate with government at all levels towards fighting COVID-19. The First Lady stated this in a message during the donation of palliative materials to women groups through the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs as well as Federal Medical Center, Abuja. And State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
The promotion of lives of women and children was the motive behind the donation of this medical equipment through the Get Involved program under the Future Assured and the Aisha Buhari Foundation. The First Lady also donated food items and other essential commodities. These include rice, millet, milk, sugar, tomato paste, and other nutritious commodities. According to the First Lady in a message during the presentation, the items are expected to be benefited by all women groups in Nigeria in an effort to cushion the effect of the lockdown.
She had done several of this kind of distribution of food served to less privileged. This time around is peculiar in the sense that with the lockdown, many women are at home, cannot go, and most of their business is daily income generation.
The Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talen, who received the items, responded on behalf of the Nigerian women.
Words cannot express my joy on behalf of Nigerian women for this kind gesture. It's a very difficult and trying time for women, and this will reduce the pressure on me because in a day the distress calls I've been receiving and how we've been reaching out to them, it has not been easy. But what Her Excellency has done today has really given us some bit of succor. May the good Lord continue to bless and strengthen her.
The Future Assured also donated palliative materials comprising hand sanitizers, surgical masks, and other medical equipment to Federal Medical Center, Abuja, in support towards the protection of frontline healthcare workers to deliver effectively on their responsibilities.
On behalf of the management of Federal Medical Center, Abuja, we want to thank Excellency for actually donating this personal protective equipment, and also her Future Assured program for finding it necessary to actually support the cause in tackling this scourge of COVID-19.
The First Lady reaffirmed her commitment towards addressing the challenge of COVID-19 pandemic in the country. In Abuja, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
And lending adequate support to the needy and the vulnerable following the restriction of movement is imperative to successfully prevent further spread of coronavirus. This necessitated the action undertaken by the Nigerian Air Force Officers' Wives Association in Idiaraba, Lagos, who presented staple food items to 200 families, and Leon Leneke reports.
Families selected in the Idiaraba area of Mushin local government each received one 10 kg bag of semolina, 3-liter kg of groundnut oil, 5 kg bag of gari, and same measure of rice and beans, in addition to the healthy package of at least 30 sachets of tomato paste and food seasonings. The chairperson of FOA Logistics Command Lagos, Nanfe Alao, who was represented, explained that the outreach and distribution of food items to widows and the less privileged was done without bias for ethnic and religious affiliation. She advised beneficiaries to maintain social distancing, wash their hands regularly, and imbibe safety measures.
We know the idea about having a lot of very vulnerable people and poor people. And you know, part of our motto in the NAFOA is service to humanity.
Because each one will take at least 3 weeks for a family. It's a very, very welcome development. We are very, very happy with it.
Not like this. We have been getting something, but not like this. This is very special, and we are very happy.
And we didn't just want to give the norm, just one, something that can take a family of 4 for about 2 weeks, considering the lockdown keeps extending. So that's the reason why we came here. And you can see from the smiles on the faces of the people here, we were quite received well, and there's nothing compared to the joy that you see on faces when you give.
The outreach is part of activities marking the 56th anniversary of the Nigerian Air Force. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Ansarudin Society of Nigeria will continue to obey government order on lockdown of places of worship and adhere to all precautionary measures instituted by the federal government towards curtailing and containing the coronavirus pandemic in the country. The society made this promise while donating palliatives to the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in Abuja. The report.
Led by the Deputy National President, Dr. Yusuf Adebayo Ibrahim, the leadership of the society was at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation in solidarity with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in its efforts at fighting coronavirus in the country. The National Coordinator, Dr. Sani Aliyu, received them on behalf of the committee.
Thank you very much. I know you are all praying. We are also praying and working hard on this part to ensure that this COVID-19 is controlled and that we get out of it safe, unscratched.
The palliative, made up of food items, will be distributed to the less privileged in the society, irrespective of their religious affinity.
As far as Saudi is concerned, all our mosques all over the Federation is being closed down. We don't operate, we only operate from the house. Well, we advise all mosques as well to do the same thing, because nobody is about these diseases. This can kill anybody. It doesn't have recognition for either imam or anybody.
We are strengthening certain parts of the intervention and at the same time allowing some semblance of economic activity to proceed. We cannot reach the public, the communities, without going through faith-based organizations and traditional leaders. This is a very strong partnership. We respect the solidarity.
Ansarudin Society of Nigeria is one of the Islamic faith-based organizations founded about 70 years ago.
Now, in the raging battle to contain the novel coronavirus, health workers and journalists have become the face of those at the front line. Several others, though less visible, are working daily to keep the lights on, secure lives, and ensure steady supply of food and drugs. Now, Tessie Mary reports that while Nigerians stayed at home for over a month now, they relied on essential workers to keep the country's most essential engine running. But then, how are they coping with COVID-19, especially as they are being considered high-risk individuals? Let's watch.
The federal government's stay-at-home order is yielding results through rapid contact tracing and containment of community transmission. Even at this, not everyone can afford to remain indoors, as someone must keep tabs to ensure life goes on, like health workers, journalists, utility suppliers and food vendors. Friday Obaje, a nurse anesthetics, is in the front line of the COVID-19 response.
Health personnel is not really too sweet for them, particularly because of this stigmatization. Once they see you coming out of the hospital, The other people run away.
For journalists like Mary Ohago, Victor Benson and others, they never anticipated 2020 will reveal one of the most infectious diseases ever to hit the world. But here they are, in the front line of keeping the people abreast of the happenings.
My family, we just had a newborn baby, born in this COVID season. And the first thing everybody tells you once you step in is, don't undress. Wash your hands, don't touch the baby. Have you sanitized? Have you washed your hand? And this now makes you see how beautiful life was when you could go back home and everybody runs out to hug you and ask you, how are you?
Every day we are exposed to danger. Every day we need to be out there to ensure that we monitor compliance and report it appropriately. We need to also follow up on developments in communities. We are at high risk.
That has brought some kind of caution on the part of my family, especially when I get to my kids who say, Daddy, where are you coming from? When I sneeze, they will say, Corona, Corona, Corona.
One of the days when I close from work at night, I go home and then my kids are at the door waiting.
For the family members of these essential workers, it is a reality that they must come to terms with.
Before coronavirus came, when my mom comes back, we normally help her bring down some groceries, also hug her and tell her welcome. But now, it's a very different matter.
On a serious note, the thought of the fact that it's possible that she could get the virus from as a result of her duty is the one that is really biting me.
If actually the office would do more in protecting them so that we will be free of the virus.
With high mutual suspicion among residents, the experience of essential workers, especially with their loved ones, is just genuine.
I want my mom to go to work. I want her to stay at home so that she will not catch COVID-19.
So when you get back home, it is important that you clean up first. Take a bath after work, wash properly, and then before you begin to touch the kids or your wife.
I think it behoves on us as information people who know to actually imbibe some of these things that we preach.
The number keeps rising, infected persons, and you don't know who is infected without the tests carried out. And you go out there to meet people, talk to people. We have to just pray and hope to keep safe.
Yeah, thank you. I tell you, the fear is real among journalists who are in the front line, to report everything COVID-19 almost on a daily basis. As we walk the thin line, we also try to avoid becoming the casualties in discharging a very sensitive assignment. In Abuja, Tessie Omeri, NTA News.
I would say kudos to all essential workers out there. Keep up the good work and stay safe. Now, a significant number of old people receive special attention and care in Borno State as they access free medical services, even though there are no special geriatrics unit or wards for them in hospitals. The lockdown situation due to COVID-19 concerns has not affected service provision to these special category of citizens in hospitals across Borno State. Maimuna Garba reports.
Strict management, care and treatment is one of the major areas hospitals have continued to give attention to even before COVID-19 made landfall in Borno State. Healthcare is the greatest physical need for the elderly because when healthy, they need far less basic support as old age is a sensitive phase. Therefore, the elderly people need care and comfort to lead a healthy life without worries and anxiety. The Borno State government has a policy on care and management of geriatrics, where they access some services in hospitals free.
Geriatrics have special attention from all workers. Once they get into the hospital, they don't normally join the normal queue to wait to consult a doctor.
According to experts, geriatrics are more affected by common conditions because they are weak and have low immunity. Hence, many diseases thrive in them, with most of them having chronic illnesses.
Never turn any elderly patient from this facility. Anybody that come to access service, we give him the necessary attention. All what we do is every patient you assume is a potential carrier of COVID-19, so you take all the necessary precautions.
No discrimination in treatment and management despite the coronavirus pandemic, as it is equal attention for all. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
Well, a very beautiful development there all the way from Borno State. And popular household hygiene brand Jik is effective in combating bacteria and viruses. As Nigeria continues to battle the rising figures of coronavirus cases, Jik has embarked on the fumigation of public spaces in Lagos, the epicenter of the pandemic in the country. Then Leneke reports that this is the second phase.
Aligning with efforts towards the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, foremost hygiene and household disinfectant brand Jik is partnering with the Lagos State government through the Ministry of the Environment to ensure a germ-free city. The brand donated 100 cartons of its product for the fumigation and decontamination of public places across the state with a high rate of human activity.
It's just another strategy to add on to hygiene, but we are encouraging you and telling you not to panic, just obey, do the needful. And as we have partners that are supporting the Ministry of Environment.
Country Manager, Rekit Benkisa Hygiene, West Africa, Asif Hashi, said Jik's collaboration with government is necessary at a time when the country is seeking more ways to stop the spread of COVID-19. Jik, he stated, is effective in combating infectious diseases caused by germs and viruses, as well as the promotion of a safer, cleaner environment. In furtherance of the plan, bus stops, pedestrian bridges, and the medians from the Ketu bus stop to Ikorodu town and back were disinfected using Jik.
Very good as they clean the environment so that to send the sickness, disease we cannot see with our eye away.
It can help to reduce the spread of the virus.
So it's a very nice gesture.
Jik remains a product of choice for Nigerian homes, which, according to manufacturers, is 99.9% effective in killing germs and viruses, as corroborated by the National Center for Disease Control as part of precautionary measures to be adopted, among others. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
As the novel coronavirus pandemic continues to threaten global public health, preventive measures to forestall a second spike of the infection has become pertinent. Contamination of public places and suspected infected facilities have been identified as a veritable approach in this fight for survival. Ifeoma Aikoje takes the matter up from here.
The novel coronavirus era has increased the need to pay greater attention to public health, and decontamination of both health and non-health facilities may just help to prevent a second spike of the coronavirus. In some developed countries, the global battle against COVID-19 has seen technology play important roles, including the disinfection of even difficult-to-reach areas. In Nigeria and Akwa Ibom State in particular, government agencies and other organizations have mobilized for aggressive decontamination of various public places and some suspected infected facilities.
We started decontamination, and we visited several places, most especially public places. In Ekets, we did a lot of hotels, we did a lot of churches and hospitals.
It's a chance, a very high chance of having a COVID-19 patient visit a health facility. So we decontaminate services in hospital to ensure that patients like that don't leave behind the virus.
Environment officers speak on adherence to prescribed chemicals for the disinfection exercise.
Before the fumigation, there has been guidelines on
the chemicals to be used for the fumigation.
The chemicals used in the fumigation helps to kill the virus.
Meanwhile, government has pledged to make disinfection of public places a regular exercise even after the pandemic.
Major health facilities, right from the airport to major health facilities, we are trying to decontaminate them, and that will also continue.
To win the war towards breaking the cycle of COVID-19, it is recommended that public office environment be cleaned properly, decontaminated, and surfaces disinfected regularly. In Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, Ifoma Ihoje, NTA News.
Well, thank you so much, Ifoma. Now we take another time out, and when we return, you would get to see proactive steps being taken in some quarters against the alarm of a possible famine in the face of COVID-19.
Is on your mind.
Stay-home data plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
The coronavirus pandemic has changed the way we see the world,
the way we work and interact with each other.
COVID-19 affects all of us.
To defeat this human challenge and protect our great country, Nigeria, we must listen to our health professionals.
Stay home.
Wash your hands or sanitize. If you have symptoms,
contact the health authorities immediately.
Join the private sector coalition against COVID-19
by supporting any way you can.
Nothing is too small to make a difference. We can do it because we are strong and resilient.
Let's fight to defend our motherland, Nigeria, by working together
and staying alive together.
Stay alive. Stay alive. Stay alive together.
Did you know that using bar soap and water protects against viruses? Many viruses are surrounded by an envelope with receptors that enable them to enter a human cell and cause infection. Bar soap destroys the outer layer of the virus and effectively removes it and reduces your chances of contracting the virus. Protect your family from the spread of viruses. Wash your hands using bar soap and water. Brought to you by Medifax and Dettol.
A mother's instincts are hardly ever wrong. She knows when all is not well. And she trusts M&B Paracetamol, the red one, to save the day. With fast-acting and effective M&B Paracetamol tablet, the red one, and its pleasant-tasting pineapple flavor syrup, she sends aches and pains far away from her family. M&B Paracetamol. Pain can't stop you. If symptoms persist after 2 days, consult your doctor.
And aggressive disease containment.
Now on lockdown.
It is one of the measures taken by the country.
How long is all this for? Scientists say that's the big question.
News that connects you globally, from the world to your home, with 4 leading news channels 24/7. Live breaking stories on GoTV. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Know that our enemy enemies have no face. They're indigents of no state. They come from no place. And if this boat capsizes, every one of us will go under. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer. Do not say, I am the Iroko when the forest is burning. Do not say, I am the Obeche when the forest is burning. Our differences will not stop us from perishing together. So when the drums sound, let everybody answer.
Thank you so much for staying. The $3.4 billion rapid financial instrument secured by Nigeria from the International Monetary Fund (IMF) is coming with a 1% interest rate. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed made the disclosure to the Nigerian Television Authority in her flagship finance and economy program, Business Express.
The IMF on Tuesday approved a $3.4 billion emergency financial assistance previously requested by Nigeria after fulfilling all necessary requirements for accessing the Rapid Financial Instrument (RFI). The fund is to support the federal government's effort in addressing the severe economic impact of the COVID-19 and the sharp fall in oil prices. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed said the fund is coming with a 1% interest rate.
This is an excellent facility. It is at an interest rate of 1%. We have a 3.25 years moratorium and a 5-year repayment period. There are no extraneous conditions attached to this facility. The IMF has suggested that they can provide technical support to us to help us address some of the underlying challenges in the areas of revenue and also in the areas of fiscal consolidation as well as fiscal governance and unification of the exchange rate.
The minister says Nigeria and the IMF have agreed that priority is for health and interventions to the poor and the vulnerable.
It's a good development for our country. It will help us to stabilize the economy in view of the very significant shock we have seen from the decline of the crude oil price. The most important priorities now is health, interventions for the poor and the vulnerable, and there are many more people that are now vulnerable in the country. So we are on the same page with them.
The latest approval by IMF is the largest allocation to member countries. Muplang Dakok, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the federal government of Nigeria has disbursed the sum of 43.416 billion naira as performance-based grants to 24 eligible states on the basis of the results achieved in 2018 under the performance-based grants component of the World Bank Assisted States Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program. The facility is wholly financed with a loan of $750 million from the International Development Association, IDA. A member of the World Bank Group, Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, who disclosed this in a statement signed by Hassan Dodo, the ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations, explained that the disbursement followed the participation of the 24 eligible states in the recent annual performance assessment carried out by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation. The program was established by the federal government of Nigeria with the concessional loan of $750 million to support states through the provision of performance-based grants to the tune of $700 million and technical assistance in the sum of $50 million to enhance their capacity in fiscal sustainability and open government partnership of the 24 benefiting states. Kaduna achieved the highest number of results and got the highest share with 3.96 billion naira, while Katsina and Benue got the lowest amount of 540 million naira each. Now, key players in the maritime sector are reviewing the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on ports operations with a view to adopting a more pragmatic approach to cargo evacuation. And Michael Olale has that.
In spite of the COVID-19 lifelines for investors in the maritime sector, it is disheartening that cargo evacuation still stands below 35%. The Nigerian Shippers Council is, however, warning of a looming congestion due to 95% yard occupancy at a time. Investors ought to take advantage of the various incentives to clear their cargoes. This interactive forum with the organized private sector is to work out modalities leveraging on automation of transaction and multimodal approach to cargo evacuation in solving the challenge.
We are looking at the standard operating procedure. As long as we get the TDOs, rail will be coming, to the port to, bring out, cargo, but even more significantly, take empties and the export, into the cargo, into the terminals. So this is, we have barge, we have the rail, we have the truck. So even it's giving a good run, money for hauliers who sometimes hold us to ransom.
The restriction of interstate movement is another challenge affecting cargo evacuation, as some trucks are presently trapped at various locations across the country. The organized private sector called for action while appealing to government agencies to reduce the regulatory fees payable at the ports.
There is this massive competition to increase levies and force the payment of levies. You are squeezing gradually lives out of the businesses.
You must put in place mechanism that will ensure liquidity in the foreign exchange market, so that anybody that wants to do foreign transaction can do it with ease.
All parties agreed to streamline efforts at stimulating exports by providing finance, establishing markets and logistic chain of supply. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
And just last week, the World Programme raised an alarm of possible famine due to the coronavirus pandemic. That is a call to action which the Ebonyi state government is already proactive about. The state government has acquired over 30 hectares of land for the Central Bank of Nigeria project on cassava production this farming season. Uchechukwu Chukwueze Idam reports that farmers in Ebonyi state are committed to farming activities in spite of enormous challenges posed by COVID-19.
It is another farming season, and with over 90% of the people of Ebonyi State being farmers, farming activities are on course, but that is not without some challenges. These include high cost of labor, transportation, and difficulty accessing seedlings, among other factors brought about by the coronavirus pandemic.
We know they say people where they help us to farm. Even if we see them, then we'll charge you high because see people where they come another place, come here, come do farm for us. They know they come again.
Nothing ever can stop us farming. We can continue doing until whatever comes must go.
Though almost all the farm work are at subsistence levels, with civil servants taking advantage of the lockdown to farm on their own, both federal and state governments are making frantic efforts to boost farming activities in the state.
We know that the CBN is preparing heavily for a post-corona era. They are looking for, like Ebonyi State, we are giving them to something 1,000 hectares of land. I've just acquired 10,000 hectares of land to give them. So we find another 13,000 hectares of government land available. So we are trying this for them.
And the governor also, considering the economic situation, that is brought about by this pandemic,
also directed immediate disbursement of the sum of 2 billion naira SME facility that was secured before now. It be disbursed to benefiting youths and women to enable them go into entrepreneurship, into vocational programs, and other agri-related programs.
As the state joins the rest of the world in battling coronavirus, some of the safety measures put in place may be causing impediment to farming activities, but the farmers are encouraged to persevere and complement government efforts in abating hunger afterwards. In Abakaliki, Uchechuchi Bezika, NTA News.
And from Abakaliki, we'll take you to Ekiti State, where the state is strictly complying with the interstate boundary lockdown announced by President Buhari as agreed by the state governors. Yemi Dalemo monitored the compliance with the directive and now reports.
The boundary closure with neighboring states directed by President Muhammadu Buhari in agreement with the state governors is effectively implemented in Ekiti State as the boundaries are effectively being manned by security personnel. A visit to the boundary between Ekiti and Ondo State in Iju-Ikere-Ekiti axis revealed compliance with this directive. Before they allow anybody into the state, they conduct tests to ascertain their health status so as to ensure that coronavirus is not imported again into the state. Other boundary areas linking Ekiti with Kogi, Osun and Kwara State in Omo, F1 Lai and Moba were also being manned with security operatives who are working with the state government task force, enforcing the directive with the aim of preventing transportation of coronavirus patients into the state under any guise. The officials not only prevent unauthorized travelers, they also conduct examinations on the drivers on essential duties with a view of determining their health status.
Because before last week, Akure people still moving. But since the governor have told them that whoever they impound the motor will be the state government motor, so they have started complying.
Our people are now complying with the directive. By this time of yesterday, we were in the Jemeje to all that borders now, and all the remote villages. So we've tried a lot.
Most major interstate motor parks are devoid of its activities, while the roads linking Ekiti with other states are also free of vehicular movement, except those on essential services. In Ado-Ekiti, Yemi Dalemo, NTA News.
And commuters plying the Makudi-Lafia Road were stranded following the lockdown and restriction of movement directive issued by the Benue State government aimed at curtailing the COVID-19. And Eduna Justice, who was at Yelwata, a boundary community between Benue and Nasarawa states, now reports.
Yelwata is a boundary town between Benue and Nasarawa states for kilometers traversing north-central east through Lafia, Makudi and Enugu in the southeast. On a normal day, the traffic on this route used to be heavy, but for the general effect of the coronavirus pandemic that has locked down global economy with its trailing deaths, which has made government to contain the spread by enforcing some practicable rules. Interstate roadblocks are some of the measures state government use to prevent community transmission, which health experts are projecting it will be deadly in the country if not checked. To effect this, the Benue State Governor Sam Otom gave the order on 23rd of this month for a total lockdown of interstate roads in compliance with Governor's Forum resolution with the exemption of those on essential duties.
This is the boundary between Benue and Nasarawa states. Despite the warning, people are still defaulting the order. They are saying that they've exhausted their money, they need to go back to their village so that they can manage their life.
Because we are moving at Nasarawa State. Then outside, we have spent our money finish and there is no food.
The security agent at this point, though looking overwhelmed by the sheer number of traffic, declined to speak on camera. From Yelwata in Benue State, Joshua Edina Justice, NTA News.
Fake news is one of the biggest worries of the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed. This His worry is understandable given the damage fake news does to society. While the residents of Port Harcourt in Rivers State are with the minister on this, as they express worry over the activities of purveyors of fake news and the adverse effects of the trend on combating COVID-19. And Chidibere Onya reports that Nigerians are calling for more decisive steps by relevant authorities to root out the menace of fake news from the country.
Spread of coronavirus around the globe appears to be creating a fertile ground for fake news, especially on social media.
Don't go around spreading rumors, 'cause fake news won't help anyone. You are special.
Myths like believing that the virus cannot survive in a hot and humid temperature, as well as the use of chloroquine for the treatment of the disease, are some baseless information which have dominated the media space and has equally been debunked by the World Health Organization, WHO, affirming that at the moment no known cure has been developed for the treatment of the virus.
I was discussing with a friend. The guy just jokingly said, let me drink this ogogoro so that whatever corona is in my system will die.
Various people have their opinions. Some persons say garlic and ginger, some persons this African way of, some persons have come up with various African way of treating the infections.
People try to feed the masses on what is not correct about it.
Others cautioned Nigerians against relying solely on social media for information on the dreaded pandemic, but to rise to the challenge of ending fake news.
Oftentimes try to confirm some of these stories from the conventional media. For instance, no Radio Nigeria station will give you fake news. Because for every news we push out, just like NTA2, we must verify the source of the news.
I know that the present government is formulating a law against fake news.
While chiding mischief makers against peddling fake news, observers called on governments to adopt pragmatic approach to nip the ugly trend in the bud. In Port Harcourt, Chidibere Onya, NTA News.
It is necessary for us to always say no to fake news. On the wrong side of the law, who and for what crime? Find out when we return from this break we are about to take.
أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون.
The glorious month of Ramadan is here again, and we at Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society once again call on all faithful to observe the physical and social distancing directive of the government to curb the spread of COVID-19. Always wash your hands with soap and water, use hand sanitizers and face masks when necessary, and stay at home. Observe your obligatory salat, tarawih, tahajjud, du'as and askars with your families from the comfort of your home. Stay at home, stay safe, stop the spread of COVID-19. This message is from Al-Habibiyah Islamic Society, from Allah to you, a light.
Picture this, a culinary experience across northern Nigeria with exceptional women sharing exciting recipes from their communities. Picture some of your favorite celebrities cooking, sharing knowledge, and enjoying iftar right on your TV screen. From miyan gauta, dashishi, miyan kubewa, lele, and other iconic dishes, please spice to life with the flavor of Maggi. You can stop salivating now. I'm Jamila Lowell, and you're welcome to Maggie Diaries Season 3.
Since 1971, Nigeria's foremost human capital development institution, the Industrial Training Fund, ITF, has been at the forefront of equipping Nigerians with skills for national growth. Today's ITF has repositioned and refocused its programs, forging new partnerships locally and internationally to effectively deliver on its mandate. With 37 area offices and 5 industrial skills training centers across the country, ITF is pushing to reduce unemployment by providing relevant technical and vocational skills skills for employability and entrepreneurship in diverse trades and crafts. Whether you're a public or private organization seeking to improve the skills of your personnel or an individual looking to acquire skills that will increase your chances of employment or even to help start your own business, today's ITF has a program for you. Speak to us today. Contact our area offices nationwide or visit our website www.itf.gov.ng. ITF, developing the nation's human resource.
In this time of despair, our country, Nigeria, needs us now more than ever. We stand a chance to save our great country, Nigeria. A chance to rise up from this pandemic stronger and better. What will be the gain if we do not learn from other countries and observe the lockdown to stop the further spread of the virus? If we loosen our guards and allow this virus doom our very existence, then what have we gained? This is the call to every Nigerian to unite as one and stop the spread of this deadly virus. Stay at home and stay safe. Remember, the virus doesn't move unless we move. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa.
Welcome back. It is no longer news that Zamfara is one of the states of the Federation endowed with abundant solid minerals. This is evident in the number of mining sites scattered around the state, most of which are illegally mined by even foreigners. The good news is that government is working towards ending the irregularities. The Special Task Force on the Enforcement of Federal Government's ban on mining activities visited one of the mining sites in Bukuyum local government area of the state and nabbed 2 Chinese nationals who are allegedly engaged in the illegal business in the area. And Sadia Abubakar tells us more.
Illegal mining has over the years been linked with the activities of armed bandits in Zamfara, coupled with its other attendant negative consequences on socio-economic development of the state. Despite the federal government's ban on all mining activities in the state, the illegal business seems to have continued unabated, even by some foreigners. A special task force led by the Zamfara State Commissioner of Police, Usman Nagogo, acting on intelligence, recently invaded a mining site at Kwali in Bukuyum local government area of the state, where some Chinese and Korean nationals, along with some locals, are said to be conducting the illegal business, but the suspects took to their heels. The task force later conducted an operation at residence of some of the suspects located at Nasarawa Bukuyum at the same local government area, where 2 Chinese nationals and a lady who claimed to be their cook were apprehended. Exhibits recovered at the house include a laboratory and different chemicals suspected to be used in processing gold and some other precious solid minerals.
The only thing I could not discover is the gold itself. I was informed by the owner of the house they have just sold the quantity of gold they have. And that is why we are not so lucky to meet the gold. But you can see all materials meant for making gold are inside the house, including the container.
CP Nogogo said special security patrol teams have been stationed at the mining sites to enforce strict compliance with the federal government ban on mining activities in the state.
Ours is to make an arrest. Decision will be made by Inspector General of Police, because from here we'll transfer them to Abuja.
The special task force led by CP Usman Nagogo was also at a house which allegedly serves as residence of some Burkina Faso nationals who engage in illegal mining activities in the area. Though no arrest was made, some equipment and materials strongly suspected to be used in processing solid minerals were found in the house. In Gusau, Sadia Abubakar, NTA News.
And the Armed Forces of Nigeria says in the last 7 days it has engaged Boko Haram terrorists hiding within its theater of operations. A statement by Coordinator, Directorate of Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, indicates that some of the areas include Pulka, Goza, Isge Response Area, Kumshi and others, where troops of Sector 1 Operation Lafia Dole neutralized Boko Haram terrorists and recovered various weapons during the period commencing 22nd April 2020. The Armed Forces of Nigeria says it remains resolute towards ending Boko Haram insurgency and encourages the public to continue to provide useful information. And in another development, the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has dismissed the insinuation making rounds that the fire outbreak in one of its affiliate stations in Lagos Monday was caused by a truck that was discharging petroleum products. And Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Dr. Kenny Obateru, disclosed that the inferno, which emanated from an underground tank, was swiftly extinguished through a combined effort of the Federal Fire Service and the NNPC Fire Department and other emergency responders. With more than 600 stations across the country, the
proper investigation is ongoing right now to ensure the remote cause of the underground fire. All the stations operating under NNPC, one must have DPR certificate, and after DPR they must have the fire certificate from the Federal Fire Service. That's called the Federal Fire Service certificate. All must have it. Is a prerequisite before you start operation of any station.
More than 600 stations across the country, the NNPC says safety remains top on its priority list and will ensure the most professional handling of its equipment. The NNPC retail station, Dr. Abateru, says have over 400 trucks laden with petroleum products which will be discharged at various stations as soon as the lockdown is relaxed. Now let's take another break. We'll be right back.
Relive on GoTV. Welcome to GoTV's Relive channels. This is a world of sports where you can relive the best sports moments on GoTV.
She does! Oh, he's got it too!
Epic stories in sports on GoTV from our Relive channels on SuperSport on GoTV. GoTV, live it, love it.
You're welcome. Now, President Rochmark Christian Kabore of Burkina Faso has commiserated with President Muhammadu Buhari on the death of his Chief of Staff, Abakari. In a message, the Burkinabe president described Mr. Abakari as one of the president's closest collaborators. He said, and I quote, "In this painful circumstance, I can assure you of my compassion and my solidarity. Please accept, Mr. President and dear brother, the expression of my highest and fraternal consideration." End of quote. And President Muhammadu Buhari has condoled with Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri of Adamawa State over the transition of his mother, Hajia Fatima Umaru Bademi, at the age of 68. A statement, President says the President received the sad news with shock while commiserating with the family of the governor, the government and people of the state. President Buhari enjoined Governor Fintiri and all those who mourn Hajia Fatima to be consoled by the godly life of service she lived. And with that, we conclude News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I am Fatima Umar Guba. Remain blessed and stay safe.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis,